Sounds like a good plan.
I like that plan.
Yeah, I've also actually, while we get started, I've also moved the mic, as you may have seen. It's like right in front of me rather than using the boom arm. So the boom
That's
arm
nice.
is like those on audio can't see obviously, but the boom arm's like well out of the way. And I've moved the mic right in front of me because that's where the microphone is actually meant to be. So
Yes. Yes, it is.
yes, so I'm experimenting with that. I've moved the chair up a little bit and the camera's moved up a little bit. Otherwise, the mic's literally like right in front of my face, and it just looks like a black square in front of my face.
Does that mean you're having to move it back and forth all the time?
What is in the mic?
Mm.
No, because I don't use my desk because I have a lap board with the camcorder on.
Ah, so you have it on the lap board or you have it on the desk?
I have the mic on my desk, but
Oh,
I have my camcorder on my lap board. The only time I ever use my
ah,
desk is when I'm like, I need to type something really quickly to get a
yeah.
response in, and my keyboard, my QWERTY keyboard, is currently still on my desk, but I'm using it less and less. I'm around 40 words a minute on the camcorder now, and sometimes when I get like a couple of chords in a row, I jump from like 38, 40 words a minute to like 90 words a minute because
Nice. That's
the
very
chords are
nice.
so quick. Yeah, so one of the most satisfying words to type at the moment is because. The chord is BC, which are both thumbs. So I'm typing because by pushing both thumbs inside for BC.
That's very nice.
I was like, this is so satisfying. A lot of the other
You could
chords are like,
probably replicate that with text expander in some ways.
maybe, maybe. Yeah, it's a lot of the chords are 2 letter words or 4 letter words, like and, but, the, so, in, that, how, why, those sorts of words. So the words per minute doesn't drastically increase because IS versus IS together at the same time is not that much of a speed difference,
Yeah.
especially if you mess it up. But when you start linking them together with other words, because when you chord something, it adds a space in afterwards.
That's nice.
It's like IS space, SO space is so and it just speeds through, which is really nice. And then like I say, when you get to longer words, it's just like, yeah, that's satisfying.
Yeah, I can imagine because it's very satisfying. It's like BC, boom, done.
Yeah, it's the typing websites don't like it because according to the typing website, I've typed in BC and the C is an error, or maybe I've gone CB and both of them are an error, and then it just randomly like bloop, there's the word. It's like your accuracy was awful, but you somehow got it right really, really quickly.
It's funny, I like that.
Yeah, my accuracy on some of the typing tests and like monkey type is like 45% accuracy. But actually I got most of it right. It's just like every once in a while I got a chord wrong and I typed in twice. It's like instead of typing IS, it was SI, but I didn't quite chord it right. So it's like SI, and then it just gets rid of the 4 letters, inputs IS, and then does space. And it's like,
That's
you were
cool.
completely wrong. Wait, no, you weren't. I'm confused.
You're wrong, but right. But no, help.
Yes. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel like with the AI stuff.
Yeah.
You don't know what's
Yeah,
going on. You're really confused. You're just like, AI, tell me what's going on. Okay, thank you.
I've been playing a little bit with that after our episode from last week, and I'm just like, well, I showed you and you were like, wait, what? And as I did tweet, I broke you a little bit because you were
Yeah.
just like, no, that's not accurate. Yes, that's accurate. Oh wow. Okay. You actually figured that out. I'm gonna go play.
So this is something I read on Seth Godin's blog a couple of days ago. And he was saying that I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was along the lines that if ChatGPT can create that piece of content, why, as a person, are you creating it? And it's like the next step of being creative. If an AI can generate what it is that you're talking about, what are you adding to the conversation? And it's the same. I mean, it's the same principle that he's been talking about for a while with regards to practice and what work is good work and busy work, etc. And if you're doing a job that can be replicated by a machine, then your job isn't necessarily stable. And when he said that about the chatbot, the chat AI, I was thinking, you know what? This chat AI is going to challenge a lot of writers. I mean, you've already seen the changes inside of the image world with AI challenging the images. So it's certainly going to be challenging to see, or interesting to see, how they sort of interact.
Yeah, I love the idea because if you hot take time, there is a it's not really a hot take, everyone says it really. When you look at the content that's going out, like the volume of content that people are publishing on Twitter especially, it's an AI could write that in 5 minutes, 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Yeah, see, true, 5 seconds. And I think it's going to I can already start to tell when things have been written by AI and just dumped on a website.
Mm.
And I think for me, and with my use of AI, I've really enjoyed when I've created something or gone, oh, I wonder what this could look like. Because I'm really good when I'm in my element, in the meat of the conversation, because I have a lot of fun. But it's the intro and the outro and the structure that I find, well, quite frankly, boring. I can do it, but I don't really want to because that's not the thing that it interests me. But guess what AI can do? Exactly that. So
Mm-hmm.
it creates a structure for me, and then I just go and I write and I take information and I pull it together and I synthesize something from an outline which is structurally sound, and I don't have to think about the tiny details that is quote unquote important. And I'm really enjoying playing with that.
I think, I mean, obviously, we don't have an intro and outro in this podcast because we just want to get straight into it. I think where AI comes in, like we said last week, is it's a great tool to assist you to do certain
Yeah.
things. And it's a great writing tool. But where I'm interested to see where it goes is it's to me, it's got a pro and con, obviously.
Yeah.
But I see AI being abused by those that are lazy.
Yes.
And I can actually see it creating more of an issue because I think there's going to be more people being lazy than people caring. And I think it's going to emphasize one of the problems we already have, which is someone wants to be sciencey about a topic. So they load up a paper, they use AI chat or explain paper or something, get an explanation from the AI without reading the paper, then using that as a reference. And that's the same as reading the abstract. Like you've read the abstract, but you don't really understand what the paper's talking about. So if you don't have good prompts, which is where I think AI should be going, or the use of AI should be going, if you don't have good prompts, or you don't know how to use the tool well enough, it can still look absolute rubbish. I mean, when you look at some of the drawings from AI, they look awful. Like
Yeah.
there is no sense to it. And
Yeah.
it's
And I think
easy,
that's
it's easier to see an image and be like, well, that's in the wrong place. It's not so easy to say that fact isn't right.
yeah. That's gonna be really it is gonna be really important. And I think you're very right where we're gonna have more lazy writing and more lazy content. And honestly, we just don't need any more of that. But I think the more lazy content we get,
We could use AI to solve that.
oh, we could.
Get AI to consume the AI content to tell if it's true or not. Because there's different AIs.
That's kind of cool.
Be
You
very
need
meta,
AI.
but you'd spend
AI.
more time trying to like sort out AI problems than actually finding stuff out yourself.
Yeah, and I think there is still gonna I am always gonna have way more fun when I'm figuring stuff out. But I think what for me is it's great in the beginning of the journey of like, oh, these are things. Oh, that's a good point. Like for example, there's that paper that I never remember until I go into my Obsidian and find it. But like that talks about like the brain is not like the analogy of the brain being a computer. And like that paper is massive. And that is a lot
It's
of
kind of
time.
like 4 papers put together. So
It is 4 papers put together, but being able to just go create an outline, create a summary of this paper, and like being able to see the individual sections, psychology. Oh, it's actually in here.
I was going to say
Psychology,
it
like
should be fairly close to you because
yeah, and it's like being able to see that is insane. Just being able to see like an outline of what that looks like is just so cool. I just find it fascinating how easy that is. and like how it maps out. Like, oh, that's an interesting concept that I want to actually write about or think about or do with or something or other. It's like, oh, that's really clever. I like that. That interests me. I like this. This is interesting. And it allows, there it is.
Oh,
Like
in
the
in
fact,
search for an alternative to the computer metaphor of the mind and brain.
there you
That
go.
one, yeah.
Yeah, that one. And it's really interesting how when I asked for like a draft of like, well, what could I write about? Oh, I do an introduction. I talk about the psychology, the neuroscience, philosophy, and the biomechanics, because those are the four papers that were in there. Now there was a few things that weren't quite correct, but I knew that. One of them was talking about, oh, well, this is a bunch of UIDs or whatever it's called that are to do with this particular thing. I'm like, no, that's not, because I checked, and then so I removed that, and then I had a conclusion, and then I was able to go in and
Hmm.
start bulleting out more of like, okay, this is what I would say, this is what I would think about, this is how I would put it in my context, and it just takes it it it's exciting because then it makes the process easier to start, which for me is always the hard part, like getting
Hmm.
started, working with a blank page. It's like the start is hard, but when I'm in there playing and looking at all the research and learning more stuff and having all that information and going, oh, this is cool. Oh, that connects to this, and that full synthesis of information, it gets really fun and exciting for me. And then I just get them to write a conclusion based on what I've already written. And then I edit the conclusion so it sounds like me, because
Hmm.
I'm still always going to edit.
I think where it will be interesting with regards to storytelling and narrative creation is asking AI to explain something is fairly simple. Asking AI to explain something using an analogy or using a plot or a storyline or something behind the scenes is where I think there could be benefit. If it can do it accurately, because at the moment that's where humans are far better than AI. They can create connections that make sense to humans.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas some of the AI connections, although some of them are amazing, a lot of them are what? That doesn't quite make sense. The context doesn't quite match, or it's just really out there and it's just not possible. And that's where I think the creative minds of humans at the moment, anyway, beat the AI chatbots. I heard an interesting argument about this with regards to chess computers. And chess computers were beaten by the best chess players until Deep Blue beat Kasparov. And then chess computers are just better than humans now. We just know that. But
Mm,
we know that if you put
that's
a chess
very
computer,
different, though, isn't it? Like
yeah,
chess is
if
very much a rote repetition learn. You learn the moves. You a
this
lot of
is
it.
this is where I was going with it, right? So when you put a computer against a person, the computer wins every time. If you put a person backed by a person can still beat them because they're creative with the way that they work, because the
Mm,
people don't know everything the computers know. And
yeah.
I explained this example in a podcast. I was a guest on another podcast. Sorry, John, I betrayed you. I was a guest on a podcast talking about MMA and sports. So yeah, a little bit different. It was a long episode, but I spoke about Carlson and how when he plays at the top levels, he doesn't play computer prep. He doesn't play the best moves. He deliberately plays moves that are worse because
Mm,
the humans then have to prove that they can remember and they know the solved solutions by the computer for each move that he makes. So he makes the seventh best move on like move 10 of a routine of a pattern and then plays like the fifth best move after that. If you don't know the refutation, if you don't know how to play like best play against all of those, which is a lot of memory, you're now putting in a scenario where it's person v person again. And that's what
mm.
he does at the top level. And I think it's going to be the same with writing.
Yeah.
If you ask a human to do something a computer can do, i.e., remember facts, digits, numbers, explain certain things, a computer's probably going to win. But if you get a computer with like paired up against a human that requires really specific, nuanced information, potentially up to date information or interpretation of information, like what did Elon Musk, because he's everywhere, what did Elon Musk mean by the tweet he sent out today. What's an AI going to respond to that? How is an AI going to interpret that? Are they going to interpret the meaning through the resources they have, or the person that's programmed them, or the information that's biased in one way? Like there's going to be a human element to what that meaning is,
Yeah.
which means AI is not going to be as accurate as a human from different perspectives.
Yeah, I think I think you hit it quite well of like the human and AI together is going to be pretty damn powerful. Like because
When
you've
the
got
human understands how to use it, I think.
well, yes, when the human understands how to use it and is I think there is a point of like the human going, okay, this is not a perfect system. This is not like correct. I need to fact check everything and double check and confirm. But when used as an effective tool and used effectively, it's going to become much easier to produce. No, I wouldn't even say easier. Easy is probably not even accurate.
So I said before we got on that I like the analogy or the comparison between DaVinci Resolve and Obsidian.
Mm,
So for those unfamiliar, DaVinci Resolve is in editing software,
yes.
and it hasn't traditionally been it's not unpopular, but it's not as popular as things like Final Cut and Premiere Pro. But now it's getting its time in the limelight, as it were, and it's being pushed by a lot of different creators. A lot of them are moving towards it, and a lot of them that did move towards it are now talking about it. And when I look at DaVinci Resolve and what it can do, there are thousands of features, like so many features similar to Obsidian. But there are features in there that automatically function, like they automatically work, similar to Affinity Photo or Photoshop, where you can highlight a person and get rid of the background. And that's elements of AI. It's
Mm,
figuring stuff out by
yeah.
itself. And when you think about video editing, you could put it through an AI video editing software and get a video out. Would it work? Yes. Would it be unique, quirky, have your elements to it? No. You'd need to either program the prompt to be the way that you want it to be, or you'd need to go in and use advanced tools. So in DaVinci, maybe you go into the Fusion tab and you work on some really specific nodes to help you get some effects. But that's requires expertise in using Fusion in DaVinci Resolve to be able to do that. So the starting step you could do with AI, but to go that step further, you need a person that has expertise. And I think it's the same with Obsidian right now. To start, it's easy. Anyone can do it. There's not the same levels of AI and stuff. But if you want to go further, you need expertise. And it's the same with every application. And where I see AI coming into the writing scene is you can start with writing easy, which is great. But if you want to go further, you really need to understand it, which potentially could actually be a detriment to writing, because it means going from AI text to whatever you class as expert writing, that gap is now bigger. Because the middle gap, when you think about it, is AI. Like AI can do that middle stuff, that beginning stuff. So how do you know that's a human learning or that's an AI? How do you differentiate that? I think it's easier to differentiate a human's writing when they've got expertise in how to write, how to tell stories, how to explain something, when comparing it to an AI, whereas those starting out, not a chance. And especially having read some of the undergraduate essays, I'm like, this reads like a bot.
Yeah, that's true. I think it. I'm not sure whether it will make it necessarily like harder to gain expertise. I just think the expertise is going to shift.
I don't think it would be harder to gain expertise. I think it's harder to show that expertise from a consumer's perspective. Like if you've got someone
True.
reading a blog
True.
and someone reads a blog, how are they going to know it's AI or a person learning to write and learning to copyright to script or whatever? How is that consumer going to be able to tell the difference? I think there are some people that write and you're more likely to know that it's them, unless obviously you put in a prompt, can write this blog in the form of Seth Godin.
Yeah.
then it's going to be harder to recognize. But it's still the AI is writing like a person, and that person has a style that they're writing in. If you're a beginner and you're not that like X person, how do
Yeah.
you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, I think one thing that's exciting me about this is I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ben. Can't remember his last name. Gone from my brain.
Something.
Yeah, Ben. I think it's like Trocell or something like that. He founded MakePad and then sold it to Zapier. And I think what I really love the idea of is that more people are going to be able to use things like Chat GPT and all the other tools to design their own systems, their own productivity, provided
How?
they basically they code their own programs. They use ChatGPT. They say this, they ask these questions, and it turns it into like code that they then publish and use for themselves. Now, there are a few assumptions made there. One being that people know how to, it's the prompt language again. It's really important. But I quite like that idea, like future, like much in the future, where people are just able to create their own programs to suit their own like way of working, because that's my whole fundamental thing with the way that I work and the work that I do. Um, there's so much in that I have to do right now that I think in the future AI will be able to do, which allows for more creativity for others instead of it being like this, oh, you've got to do these things first, these things here, then you need to figure this out. But there's more potential for self-discovery and being able to create exactly what you want and build upon it. And I'm quite excited for that.
I'm still not sure how, because as an individual that doesn't know what their
Yeah.
system is, they're not aware of it. How do they build a system that they're not aware of? Obviously, there needs to be some sort of intervention there. But even so, how would they know what's going to work for them? If an AI gives them, what's the difference between an AI creating a system for them and them just copying a system from a video?
So it's less about copying a system or creating it for them. It's more about like they know what they want. If they know what they want, which is the assumption that I made, if they know what they want, but they cannot create it, they're able to say what they want and then it is created for them. If they don't have the expertise in coding or language or some of the like coding languages and stuff like that, they can ask, like, I want a window that does this, I press this, and these things happen and get added, etc., etc. I'm not sure whether we're quite there yet. I haven't played with code that much, to be honest.
If we play like theoretically here,
Yeah.
and we say, okay, someone wants to use Obsidian and they want a workspace to look a certain way, how would the AI figure out what plugins to use, what setup to use? Because there's lots of
Oh,
different ways to do
I
the same
I
sorts of
would
thing.
actually have it. It's not that they would use an application that already exists.
Oh, so you're saying they build their own app
They
using
would
AI?
build their own application that is specifically tailored for them. And all of the things that because I remember us talking a couple of years ago, I think it was now, like, I wish I could just take this tool from here and this tool from there and then combine it, and then I would have a perfect app that would work. And I think that is going to become more and more possible with like the AI tools. Now, whether people would know what that would look like, I think there will be some fun stuff that ends up happening where they over engineer it for sure. Um, but that I view as kind of part of the learning experience and figuring out, okay, I actually don't need that. Like, for example, with Notion systems are traditionally over engineered. Um, and so,
I'm still not seeing the difference.
say more.
If you've got an AI to build a system for you,
Yeah.
it might be simpler if you understand the prompts, but you still need to learn one, what you need, what you want, how you want it to look,
Yeah.
and all the stuff we need to do now. Yes, the AI can do certain things for you, But if the AI doesn't do something for you, because there will be issues
Oh
and
yeah,
blips.
I don't think it's going to be in the next year or so.
Oh
Let's
no, no,
say
no.
I
But
think it's going to be in a good number of years.
But even moving forwards and saying that it does work as expected and it creates this app that you've asked for, I still don't see how that is different from what we do now by explaining something to a person, because if they don't grasp the reasons why it's working, then they can get lost as to the functionalities. It's kind of like
That's true.
the AI creating a template for them, which is great. It's like a self-created template. Awesome. I would imagine like it's the same outcome as getting on a consulting call with someone that could build it quick.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
but yeah, but it's like cool. We created it through AI rather than consultant call. Now what? And you still need that like human intervention to say,
Yes, and that's what I think that's kind of what I was getting to of like
right,
the actual building part. Because I mean, yes, I can build a system really quickly and it's fine, but it's not for me, that's not where the joy is. It's helping people figure out the way that they work and what they want and how they work with themselves. That is the bit I find fun. And I'm not 100% sure whether AI could possibly do that
can it do it? Yes. Can it do it well? I think
well.
it
No.
depends. I think it depends on how you're defining well and how you're defining expertise in this scenario, because humans will have the ability to interpret lots of information and experience to draw upon in specific niches, whereas
Yeah,
an
that's
AI will
true.
be like everywhere, and it may
That's
use
true.
information that isn't entirely applicable, but it doesn't know that it's not applicable because it need to
Yeah,
filter
try
it.
getting productivity advice from an AI for someone who is on the spectrum. It's hilarious. Very funny. I love getting the advice because I'm just like, no, 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 you're just spouting the same nonsense that everybody in the productivity space is. And
That's
and
my worry with AI, is because it's using information that we've obviously put out there. Every
mm,
single person that does the fire hose of random tut, that fire hose is going to contribute to AI. If you've got 100 answers to a question that are just really generalized pieces of advice and then one piece of advice that's really narrow and specific on a person, the AI is not going to pick the one narrow specific person unless all of the parameters that it's looked for are there. It's just going to give the
yeah,
general advice, which is the exact problem we are struggling with at the moment with all the content that goes out. It's just general
I
shallow.
think it's I think
Ugh.
it's also going to push people in the direction of consultants who, to put it bluntly, know what they're doing, which for me, it's quite
How do you figure
exciting.
that
I don't
out?
know.
How do you figure that out?
When things don't work,
No, how do you figure out what consultant knows what they're doing?
that's a good question.
It's a
That's a good
problem most
question.
people have right now.
Yeah,
When you look at Notion, oh, which Notion consultant do I go for? The one that's really expensive, the one that's really popular, the one that is not popular, sort of expensive and seems to know what they're doing, or the one that's really cheap and has the consultancy badge anyway. Like, how do you
yeah.
measure it?
Yeah, that is the question.
I mean, I didn't bother going to Obsidian because Obsidian doesn't really have consultants, and I don't think it will do because it's not that sort of app.
I don't
Um,
think it will do. It should do because it'd be amazing, but I don't think it will. I think that their direction is very different. Um,
So this is what I was thinking when I was comparing Obsidian and DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is an editing software. It's obviously more popular because it's an editing software. And when you look at the editors, they're on YouTube.
mm,
That's where they are because they edit videos. When you look at writers, where are they? Are they in blogs? Are they in Reddit forums? Like it's hard to really narrow down because when you look at Seth Godin, he's not really online. He's a writer. He
yeah,
writes. That's what he
yeah.
does. So he's not really on social media sharing all of his stuff. And I went on a browse on funny on YouTube about writers and the tools that they use. And apart from the odd Scrivener video and a Scrivener YouTuber, and the odd person here and there talking about some really small apps, it's literally just the PKM space that talks about writing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but the PKM space is full of people that don't write. They're full of people that don't actually write. They make random systems, and I'm going to call them random systems because a lot of people in PKM create so many systems that look so different, and they change things, they chop things, they add features, take features, move to one app, then move to another app, and change the look of it here. And then, oh yeah, I've got this new system and that new system. They don't stick with something. And I sit back and go, so what are you actually writing? What are you actually doing?
Yeah.
And a lot of them like, oh well, I will. The I will bit means you haven't started. And then you get the students are like, oh yeah, well, I use it for my studies. Okay, what's the actual purpose for that? Is that just reading and reciting what you've written? In which case, you're not writing. You're regurgitating information for the learning purpose, which Google does. Like, you don't need Obsidian to be able to ask a question and then get an answer for it. Google does that. And obviously AI does that as well now.
Yeah, I was
So what are you
about to
actually
say.
writing?
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
not.
it's interesting. Yeah.
And when I look at these sorts of apps and this, I guess you could say this world of writing, scripting, narrative, it's not spoken about in the more popular forums. Like, they're blog posts that people are finding on websites, which sort of talk about it here and there. I'm not a big fan of reading blogs. I prefer to listen to them, which is obviously my bias. And I'm trying to find what I would class as like good writing tools to compare Obsidian to. And they're all in the PKM space, and they all overcomplicate shit. All of them. Like Scrivener, yeah, it's good. What can Scrivener do that Obsidian can't? Nothing. Now the canvas is out, nothing. What can
Dodge, yeah, now that Canvas is out, yeah,
like when I did the comparison video for Word, Scrivener, and Obsidian, the only thing that Word had over Obsidian was formatting. But if you use Pandoc to export from Obsidian, all the formatting sorted. And the only thing Scrivener had over Obsidian was the corkboard view, which Canvas knocks out of the water. Canvas blows corkboard out of the water. So Scrivener's got nothing on Obsidian. Plus, Scrivener's a paid software, whereas Obsidian's free. Scrivener also doesn't.
I actually genuinely keep forgetting that Obsidian is free.
Yeah.
Because that's just it blows my mind that Obsidian is free.
Yep. And then so Scrivener also doesn't have a very good mobile app, whereas Obsidian does. And then Scrivener on tablet has bugs because the app isn't suited for tablet. Obsidian's app on iPad is amazing.
Sorry, I just had Notion PTSD there. Sorry.
Oh yeah. We don't know. Notion plus iPad equals chaos. It's like hell. It's disgusting.
Still.
Yeah.
Still.
With all their developers. But yeah, so I'm sitting here like, okay, what writing app do people use for writing? Not PKMing and creating atomic notes and graph views and all this other random stuff. Writing. Just writing. I mean, take away the planning elements of the writing stage. Because I think the planning elements is where a lot of people get caught up. Like, oh, I need the tasks and I need the projects, I need the calendar, and I need this dashboard here. Like, actually just writing. What apps are there? I mean, Ulysses is there, but most people that I know that have used Ulysses have moved to Obsidian. That I know that speak about it.
There's no benefit to being in Ulysses versus Obsidian.
Exactly. The same with Bear. The same with even like Apple Notes, the same with Roam, and even Logseek users. I wouldn't class Logseek users as writers.
No, they're PKMs.
Yeah, they don't actually write stuff. Not many people, from what I've seen in Logseek or Roam, write stuff. They outline because they're outliner apps. They just bullet point things, which is fine. It works, does a good job. But I'm yet to see someone that has written their PhD, like actually written their PhD in something like Logseek or Roam, or written a book in Logseek or Roam, or Tana for that case. Obviously, Tana's a new app. Like, have they actually written something in there, or they just outlined it there and then written it somewhere else? Or have they written it in those apps but had to work some hacky workarounds to like get rid of the bullet points, or change this view so it works like this, or do something else, or create a plugin so they have an outline to jump backwards and forwards, or add internal links into a page to jump up and down the file? Like, That's not a pleasant experience. You should just be able to go in and use it. And
But Notion has subtasks now.
I don't care. I don't like, yeah, it has subtasks. But my question to those people is, what are you using it for? Are you actually putting the dependencies on subtasks and tasks of tasks and tasks of tasks? Because you could do that before with relations and rollups. Yeah, it was hacky. But what are you actually using it for? Unless you're a big project management person or big company, why do you need that much granular information on a project? Why do you need it? What's it for? It's a feature for a feature's sake, I think. Well, for personal productivity anyway. When it comes to businesses, yeah, I can sort of see the use.
I think it depends on how you want to view information. I mean, I haven't played with it, to be quite honest, because she's Obsidian. I haven't played with it because I just use Obsidian. So, but I think it does depend. I need to go play with it anyway because I might be doing some updates to some templates for people. Because I'm being asked. I think that's what it's going to be. It is very much to view it in different ways to help process the information in their brain process.
Yeah. Yeah, I still don't like it. I still don't see the point.
For you, especially, no, I do not see the point for you. But
well,
I can see.
I mean, even like the majority of successful business owners, and when I say successful business owners, I'm talking like massive businesses, like Elon Musk type businesses, Mr. Beast type businesses, like we're talking millions. They don't use that stuff. Like the CEOs don't use that stuff. They'll have a document, Apple Notes, Microsoft Word, Google Docs, and they'll just list stuff out.
No, that someone else will do it for them. They won't even do that.
When it comes to thinking and acting, that's what they do. Like I've listened to podcasts about so many different podcasts and videos and documentaries and stuff of so many successful business people, and they all just make a list, whether it's on a whiteboard, a piece of paper. They just make a list and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to do that one," and then they just do it. They don't plan. Oh, I need to do this task and then that task and that one, and they just do it. And then when they realize, oh, actually, this is a bit bigger than I thought, they write it down on the big list.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's literally just a big, long task list. Yes, stuff gets lost, but it obviously wasn't that important, so they just lost it again. I mean, Mr. Beast is a perfect example of this. He writes out hundreds of video ideas, hundreds. He goes through the dictionary and just looks at words and like, oh yeah, I could do this and I could do that. And then he does it again for the next video. And he could come up with the same idea again. So he could duplicate that. But because he's duplicated, it's like, actually, I came up with that last time. Maybe that's a good idea. And then he goes and explores it. He doesn't store it in some place and add lines to it, or add features to it, add relations and links. And no, he just has a list. And then he makes another list. And then he makes another list. Is that productive? Yes. Look at him.
Well, yes, it is. And that depends on your definition of productivity, obviously.
Exactly. I think it's clouded by the propaganda of productivity.
I cannot wait for that video. Just saying.
I've done the introduction in part 1. I've scripted, or I've drafted introduction part 1.
It's going to be a big video.
Well, that's why I'm using reading time. So I've changed the reading time to 160 words a minute because what I'm planning on doing is speaking the video as if it was a video rather than me speaking. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, my Danny Hatcher videos are me speaking about something I'm interested in, which is Obsidian and note-taking. Whereas that video, the Danny Talks videos, are going to be video essays. They're going to be explanations and explorations of topics, ideas, thoughts, and potentially not necessarily controversial, but triggering topics. And I'm not saying triggering as a negative, just triggering for conversation. So the words per minute has gone down. It's about 160 words per minute is what I have it at. And the video currently, according to Obsidian, is going to be around 7 minutes long.
One section of an introduction.
Yeah, so add another like 10 minutes onto that because I've still got the part 2 and the ending bit, but I think the ending bit is going to be longer than part 3 is going to be longer than part 1. But yeah, there's so many things I want to add in that video. It's like, okay, let's just refine it and stuff.
It's the course. It's the same thing with the task taming for busy brains. I've had nearly 250 people who have just suddenly influxed through the course, and I'm getting individual feedback from every single one at the beginning of the course and what they're looking for. I'm like, oh, that's the lesson. Oh, that's more. Oh, this is something that I was originally going to put in but didn't put in because I didn't have time, and because otherwise that workshop would not have been an hour long. It would have been 4.
Yep.
And I still would have scratched the surface of the conversation. I am super excited for like how I'm going to mold that. I think that is going to be kind of like but for people who don't know, I have a course called Task Taming for Busy Brains, which is kind of unpacking all of the common productivity advice and using like more, I don't even know whether this is correct, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, more modern day like psychology and science to help. But then again, ecological dynamics has been from the 60s.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not modern day.
Ecological psychology is from the 60s. Like the dynamical systems theory is much before that, but when you combine them together, like ecological dynamics, probably like early 70s, because ecological psychology was still building its way through. So yeah, around sort of mid 70s.
That's crazy to think it's that quote unquote old, and yet nobody talks. So I suppose because it's not sexy. It is sexy. I think it's sexy. Quite
for nerds, it's sexy.
Okay, fine. Yes,
but that's what I have in my head. So for the Danny Talks channel, what I have in my head is I have like, imagine a circle, right? A nice jaggedy circle, because certainly not smooth at the edges. Me, I'm in the middle. Then there are the close people, the close people that are really nerdy and interested in the stuff. That is my Danny Hatcher channel. That is, hey, this is the tool that I use to do all this writing stuff. And I'm really nerdy about it. And it's really fun. It's really cool. Have you seen this new plugin that can do this really small thing that most people don't care about or even know exists? Yeah, that's my channel right now. But the conversations that I'm having apply to way more people. I've spoken with a couple of builders recently because we've had our hallway done, and I'm speaking to them about education, the educational system, and they're like, oh yeah, this sucks and it's rubbish, and they go on insulting stuff about the educational system. I ask them a question, they're like, yeah, I don't know, that's a good point. And then I follow up with what I know, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Why hasn't the government done that? Or why do schools do this? Or why do teachers not do that? Oh, because the educational system for the teachers sucks. Yeah. I don't say it like that, but it basically does. And we get into conversations, and the start of the conversation is a real world problem, and the solutions are really narrow. But if you explain a story from that high level view, that overview story, that big outside the circle bit, you get loads of people involved in the conversation. And as soon as you get more people involved in the conversation, they get more interested. Then they go and explore. Like, you can't explore something if you don't know what it is or what it's about, which is why when I was doing the podcast with the coach, exploring these topics is so difficult without context. Like, why do I care? That's the big question.
There is why I didn't start looking up sports psychology stuff until the context mattered. And then once the context mattered, that's it. I'm dead. I will never see the world in the same way again. But it is amazing.
So to use James Wallace or Jim's thing, he loved using this at uni. Have you taken the blue pill or the red pill?
Yeah.
And everyone goes, which is the pill that takes you to the Matrix? Because I can't remember the color. Do you remember the color?
Is it the red one?
Yeah. I remember red as danger. Like,
yeah. It's so much more. It's just so much more interesting, and I'm getting replies from people of like all the things I struggle. All right, cool, that's solved here. Oh, I got another lesson coming that will solve that, and it's just like there are some.
How are you planning the course?
In my head.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Hell yeah. No. the plan is to structure it in my Obsidian. That's my plan, is to move it into Obsidian. At the moment, I just had an influx of people that I could not process the information fast enough. I was unprepared for the 250 people who came through the course.
Okay, I'm going to take a couple of steps back from where I'm thinking. What's the plan for 2023 in the course?
I have so many plans. I haven't decided a direction.
Okay.
So, and that's something that I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks as like work, quote unquote, is winding down. And I'm just taking the.
If anything, mine's going up.
Oh, yeah, so's mine, but it's different type of work.
Mm.
My desire is to make that course big. It's going to probably be one of those courses because I saw the influx of people in, and I want to create something that allows people who think slightly differently, who do not work linearly in that linear fashion of like input, process, output, and like you follow these 3 steps and everything's fine, who want to work slightly differently. And I want to develop that course where it starts. The hyper massive plan is I start with like task management and like getting people to do what they want to do and start there, and then expand it out into different places, into like how they build their business, how they communicate with clients. Like everything is like stemming from this. Task management is sexy. Everybody wants to be better at being organized and productive and efficient. First lesson I'm recording is one on Woody words, which I think you mentioned Woody words a long time ago, and I love it. And I'm nicking it because everybody said almost a similar thing of like efficient, organized. But what do you actually mean? Because
Part
that's
2 of my video.
I'm like, but that's not really a word. It's just a thing that we say, but what do we mean by that? And that is going to be part of that course as well. Like I have so many ideas and directions.
The reason I ask, right,
yeah,
is I know your experience with course platforms.
Oh, yes.
And the many course platforms that are out there.
Oh, yes.
And obviously, I'm biased and I like my Obsidian onboarding course and the way it works.
Yes.
And I was wondering, are you thinking about doing it on/in Obsidian?
No.
Okay, so where are you planning on putting it? Obviously, it's going to be videos.
I already have it on Member Vault right now.
Right.
But I am deciding whether I wish to move it off of Member Vault, because Member Vault is very linear, which is fine for a lot of courses. But for me, I'm wondering whether I'm going to shift it a little bit to a different platform. I haven't decided yet. I don't know. There's one I'm looking at, which is called Experienceify, which is a little bit more dynamic, which, considering the way that I'm designing the course and like my future thinking of it, I want more like pathways that people follow and go down. So I may end up just screwing it and building my own platform, because then I can do it exactly how I want.
Yeah.
But I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, the reason I ask is the Obsidian onboarding. Obviously, the course is in Obsidian, so planning it in Obsidian is way easier, because I could just have like the lesson in there and then have a database folder plugin, have a database for it, and that's how I manage it. And it's so easy to manage. I mean, I've managed around 100 lessons inside there so far, and I've got everything I need. Like I've got the tags, it's organized. I've got the tracks, it's organized. I know the statuses of things. I can publish it by clicking a button. It's really not difficult. And that's something that I've heard a lot of people struggle with when it comes to the management of courses, is like, once it's published, how do I update that piece? Or how do I keep that as like I need to work on this, but it's already published, so I need to sort of work but not work on it and have like a draft version of it? Or and then how do I keep track of all the lessons, where they are, what they do, what they relate to, and everything like that? Obsidian obviously is all about relations and links, so that's easy. And I was just curious to see how that course is going to be like planned out on the back end, because as the course builds out, I can see you being like, wait, what lesson was that in again? sort of thing.
Yeah, but this is why I'm thinking of moving it off of where it is now into a different platform. Because as some of the problems that I have with the platform I use now, which is MemberVault, which is fantastic. I love it. It's a brilliant platform. I love the people. It's built by 2 people, for crying out loud, which I
Yeah,
love.
Obsidian
But
until like 3 months ago.
yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like the Obsidian of but it's not as modular and flexible and changeable.
Always good.
Or it's no. But one of the things that I struggle with, I can't add draft lessons. They're either published or they are not published. So I have to put it off platform, which is one of the things that I'm like, no, that's kind of becoming more of a problem as I am developing more ideas. I've got to be, when I'm publishing something, I've got to be ready to publish it rather than the messy middle section that I want to be working on right now, because I have like 12 directions that I want to go in with this course because they are all really powerful and really useful and really valuable. And like the capture, organize, do kind of process is not just task management, obviously. It is so many other things and all based on the cool nerdy psychology that you and I talk about all the time. Psychology and philosophy, I suppose, and yeah, all that stuff.
Just add all the ologies.
Yeah, all the ologies. This is the ology. It's based in all the ologies.
Oh, when you look at, I don't know whether you've read the paper yet, but the effective sports coach, becoming an effective sports coach, or becoming an effective coach. I can't remember exact title.
I think
96.
it's sports coach.
Yeah, 96. The definition of effective coaching. When you read through the original paper, what they use for their professional knowledge section is the ologies. Like it literally says ologies inside the text, or ology. It's in like quote marks, like all the science ologies. I was like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because it excited me when I went and got that summary of the computer metaphor of mind and brain kind of thing, and etc. etc. I just loved how it's like, oh yeah, that's psychology and neuroscience and philosophy and biomechanics. And when I was sat there, I was like, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But I didn't consider it until I did. And then I'm like, that is so fascinating. And
Yeah.
it's I'm excited. As someone who did not have the joy of traditional academic education, shall we say.
Well, there's pros and cons.
Yes, I know there are pros and cons, but for someone who didn't have I suppose, the learning environment of using academic papers and being taught how to, taught, I don't know how good it is, but my misconception is that you are taught how to read academic papers. Not misconception, whatever.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say you're taught, but you're
Or
told
guided.
what it does.
Oh, really? Is that it?
Well, it's very hard because it's the same as content. Like an academic piece is just a piece of content. They just have references. So you're taught how to reference and what references are, and to some extent why references are used. But the actual consuming of content, reading content, how to do it all, it's a figure it out on your own.
That's fascinating.
Because it's adult education. Like the academics basically say, hey, here's a 5 textbooks and 20 articles we want you to read so you understand what's going on, and they just say go read it. Most first year students are like, do I really need to read all 20 pages of this article? And some people even into second year are like, I'm struggling to read all of these papers. And then you got like the student that's like figured it out, and you're like, yeah, you don't actually have to read it, or just read the abstract. Most people figure it out on their own. It's like, yeah, I'm not reading all this, I'm just going to read the abstract and then a bit of the conclusion. But everyone works it out mid-second year, normally around that time, or they've spoken with someone in like third year and like, oh, I don't have to read everything. Oh, that's useful.
That is really
most lecturers don't teach you how to read. Like, you figure that out on your own. It's adult education. Do it yourself, which is why it's so good but difficult. It's why a lot of people struggle with university or college if you're from America, because it's not spoon-fed. Well, a lot of degrees aren't spoon-fed. This is what you're going to do. No, go figure it out, which obviously has its negatives, because if you are biased, confirmation bias is going to be a thing. And if you're not doing a social science degree, then yeah, problems. But yes, so your I would probably say your ability to understand how academia works is as of a third year uni student.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, you could probably like I haven't seen your ability to academically write, but you could probably do a degree and pass. Like
Mm.
it's a degree is not difficult. Doing a degree is not difficult. It's expensive. That's what it is.
Yes, that's literally the only thing that stops me because that was something that I've always been like, oh, I wonder if I did this, that'd be kind of cool. As
It's
a
what it's
as
why I'm not doing a PhD. It's like the piece of paper and the money is not worth the amount of time, effort, and stress that goes into it.
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I wanted to sort of circle back onto the course thing. So, with a couple of my lessons, I have some drafts of like the illicit lesson, the research rabbit lesson. I've got a lesson in there for explain paper as well that I'm toying with the idea of putting in. And even with like the Zotero lesson that's currently public, I have a draft file that's literally just a Zotero apt draft. And I've just copy and pasted all the information from the lesson, added in some draft stuff, and it's just not published. And then when I want to publish it, I just tick it on, change the name. Then all the links are still going there. Oh, I could do a copy and pasted stuff over, but it's much easier just to get rid of the draft word. Just use that. And it's just so simple, so quick, so easy. And Obsidian's like, yeah, it's exactly what I need. Plus, it's as flexible as I need it to be as well with the CSS that I can add to it.
Yes.
So yeah, that's all I was like curious about with your course.
Yeah, I haven't decided. I haven't made a final decision. I would want my one hesitation with using Obsidian itself, which in terms of developing the course be absolutely easy and simple and deliciously yummy. But the thing that I would struggle with is people's navigation through, for one, the navigation element for people who are not experienced with Obsidian. I suppose the design element doesn't actually matter because I can just redesign it. And how it looks, because a lot of my audience love the visuals. It's very like visual learning is important to them. And so making it look nice to work through is important for them. And then there's also the just like I don't know. There's no reason why I couldn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, so with the navigation, I'm intrigued because so my sister's been using my course because it's literally just a published site. So as long as you've got the password that I change, then you're good. And she's using the course in a way that I knew you could, but I didn't think about it. So she hasn't looked at the fundamentals lessons. She hasn't looked at any of the tracks, and she hasn't looked at any of the plugins. So in theory, she hasn't looked at any of the content. But what she did is she opened up the course, went straight to the search bar, and typed in her question. and it came up with the heading in the pages.
Interestingly enough, that's almost how I've designed the current version of my course. There's no search bar, which is annoying, but like the lessons are questions. It's like, how does Jonathan manage projects and tasks? What does he mean by this? Like, what constraints does Jonathan use? Like, all of these are questions that I have, and I think that's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, she's literally like, she'll find out a word or something like CSS snippet. I don't know what that is. So she types in CSS and it comes up with the CSS snippet section inside the page anatomy, like fundamentals lesson. And she just goes to that section, figures it out. And if there's links in that section to the changing the appearance, creating your own custom theme, creating your own snippet, she'll then just go from there. And then if she's got another question, she'll just go straight back to the search bar and type it in, like recurring tasks. Can there be recurring tasks? Inside the task management lesson, there's a recurring task heading, and that links you to the two different plugins that you could use, the task plugin or the full calendar plugin. So she's just essentially using keyword search to go through my course, which means she doesn't need to know all the 100 plus lessons that are there. And when she was like, how do I put emojis into Obsidian? She typed in emoji. It came up with the two emoji plugins, which she had a look through, and both the emoji plugins link to the So at the top of the emoji plugin, it says you can insert emojis on your computer using like the default OS or native OS thing. And it takes you, like, it's a block ID, takes you to I think it's might be the page anatomy. I don't even know where it's linked, but I've written it somewhere. So it takes you and it shows you the hotkeys for Windows and Mac inside either of the plugin pages, which takes you to the original lesson. But the original lesson doesn't have, like, this is how you do emojis, because that's not what it's about. But you can find out the default information by just typing in emoji and then having a look at the emoji things. And it's just, she's not using it like a course, she's using it like a search engine. And I'm like, okay. So now, like, all of my headings, I don't have to, but I'm changing my headings or putting things in brackets in headings for the search terms. So like so I have embeds as part of the page anatomy because it's marked down. And she didn't type embeds. She was typing for images or pictures. So I've put images and pictures in the heading of embeds. So now it comes up with how to embed things inside of Obsidian. Like, how do I put pictures into Obsidian? Type pictures, comes up with the embed section. And it, like, hotkeys. I have a hotkeys lesson, how the hotkeys work inside of Obsidian. And she was typing in shortcuts rather than hotkeys. So I just put shortcuts in brackets. And now if you're looking for shortcuts or hotkeys, you can find it through search. So that's how I'm like changing the course a little bit. And if you want to know what plugins I use, guess what you type in? Plugins I use. And it comes up with the plugin section that I use inside the community plugin page. And that's a list. And it's literally just a search engine for Obsidian. And I was like, oh, okay. So forget the next lesson, last lesson stuff, and just search through all the content. Great.
I think that'd be quite different with the course that I've made, I think.
I mean, you can go through step by step. I mean, obviously you've seen the course, but there's a button that says click here to go to the first lesson. And then at the bottom of every lesson, it's got a next lesson and
I
a
also
last
think
lesson.
that that's kind of very specific to Obsidian because it's a tool that I'm training people, that you're training people to use, teaching people to use. Whereas I suppose mine's a little bit more theoretical.
I see what you're saying. I certainly agree with the points that you're making. It's just the way that I see it is because it's an environment that you just go and explore. There's no like, oh, I don't really want to do the first. I don't want to start because I don't want to do the first lesson yet. Like that's one of my issues with some of the other courses that are on platforms like Thinkific. I have to go through the modules and the lessons to find the lesson I want at the time. So it's like, I'll go to module 2, lesson 3 to get to that lesson because that's the one I know I need right now. Because most people don't start from the same starting point. And
damn, that's a very good point.
Because I know from it's from my experience doing the first course. The first course was go through these sorts of lessons, and a lot of the people that were coming into the course weren't complete beginners. They understood how to start a vault. So like, I'm not going to go through this how to start a vault lesson because I already know how to do this. Hey, I've actually got the vault to start with. And they understand basic markdown. So they're like, yeah, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go elsewhere. And I got loads of people saying, because obviously I got feedback on the YouTube videos, loads of people were skipping the first 2-3 lessons and jumping straight to how to use community plugins. And then they would jump back from how to use community plugins to what is a community plugin and what is a core plugin and what is this page anatomy thing? What is this workspace anatomy thing? So they were jumping to where they thought they wanted to start, realizing, hey, the prerequisites for this are XYZ. I should go do that first, which is why I have prerequisites at the top of each lesson. So I'm learning as I go, and people are just now they can start from where they want, go from where they want. And you don't need to figure out the prerequisites because I tell you, you don't need to figure out, oh, what is that thing? Because it's linked at your face. And I can imagine it would be the same for you. Like if you've got a lesson on project management and you want to reference something you said in task management, you can just link it. You can link the heading, you can link the block, you can link the video.
Yeah, that's true.
And in Obsidian, obviously, you've got the hover. So when they hover over task management, they can see it's in the task management lesson or whatever. I'm not trying to persuade you to use Obsidian. I'm just saying this is like my experience with it. And
I like the idea of having an environment. Like I think the environment sums up exactly what I want for people. And that's what I've tried to do with when people join the course. They tell me what they need. They talk to they I ask them questions specifically that's designed to get them to think about what they're looking for, what they're struggling with, because then I can reply with like, here's a lesson, this is a lesson, like actually directing them. It's kind of what you were doing, but also manually with me doing it with them. And I'm like, this could be so much easier if they just knew what to search. So
Everyone's going to have something in their mind that they're going to search for. And
yeah,
that's what I was talking about, like tweaking the headings. Everyone's going to be searching for something. Like most of the questions that I get inside of the Discord are, how do I do this thing? And I'm like, oh, it's in that lesson. How do I do
yeah,
this thing? It's in that lesson. And if I get 2 or 3 questions about how do I do something, I'm like, okay, how do I put whatever you've asked in that question into the heading so you can search for it? Which is why I called it workspace anatomy, because they're like, what is a workspace? How do I use workspaces? What are the pros and cons of having workspaces? And then all the elements in a workspace, like the ribbon, the status bar, the title bar, they don't know what they're called. So when they're inside of the workspace anatomy page, the heading is what it's called. And when they start using those terms like, oh, the ribbon section was, and then they can go to it.
yeah. I'm actually looking. I just couldn't because I can't help myself. I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens when I do a search
What in your platform?
in the platform. And I just searched productivity and it's done a couple of lessons. So I'm kind of really like one of the things that I kept seeing was overwhelm. And in fact, it's actually taken directly into a number of lessons that talk about that. So that's kind of interesting.
Nice.
That's kind of interesting. That's kind of made me go, oh, that's actually possible. But unfortunately, the search bar is flipping tiny, so some CSS. I do have CSS functionality with the platform I use, which I like.
Nice.
So I
Nice.
might do some tweaking and playing to see if I can make that a bit more front facing.
Yeah, because
But yeah,
in late 2023, I'm thinking about putting my research theory stuff inside of the course, because at the moment it's focused on onboarding Obsidian. So there is loads of stuff about creating different things in Obsidian, like a journal, habit tracking, that sort of stuff. And my functions, like how I capture sources, how I use Otero, Morgan, that sort of thing. But there's not much theory, philosophy behind it. It's very tactical.
exactly my course right now, and that's what I want to start putting in. Hence
Mm,
why I've been looking. The first one I want to talk more about because I think it's so important is the brain computer analogy and the issues with that because it's just so prevalent. And every time I talk to people, they talk about, oh, I just need to get, I don't have enough RAM. And it's language that I've used myself because it's easy to understand, but it's not as simple as that. And I really want to expand on that because that is like a 3 minute lesson. But that in
mm.
itself could be its own course or it could be its own like whole digestible thing. And I think one of the things I want to do is to start bringing in some of that background information that I have to give it more
Philosophy
weight.
of practice.
Yeah, the philosophy of practice in because that is what I'm helping people design. That's what they're doing is they're developing a philosophy of practice that is their own. Because I could build templates till I'm blue in the face, and soon I'll be able to get AI to build me a Notion template. What I don't think AI is going to be able to do is what we're currently doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what's going to be interesting with 2023 for me is because the scripts of the videos are going to be in my Obsidian, I'm going to have essentially lesson scripts. So I'm debating whether or not to even put them in the course or just leave them as my Obsidian publish, because what I'm thinking is molding my current publish. So I have 2 published sites, one of them being the course, one of them being my notes.
Yeah.
Is molding it a bit and shaping it into something that's not just here's loads and loads and loads of stuff, um, and for it to function more like a blog. But in order to
That
do
could be
that,
really good.
yeah, but in order to do that, obviously I need blog posts, which are going to be planned anyway, going to be the scripts of videos. So if people read the blog, they'll know ahead of time what the video's about. I might read it word for word. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. But the research pages are going to be attached to the blog post. So it's not just here's a blog post done. It's here's a blog post. Here's the research page. And I don't want to put the references inside of the blog post because there's going to be too many.
Yeah.
And I don't want to clutter it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So this is the last one for 2022. The next time we speak will be 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good Christmas and New Year, everyone.
Yeah. Have a good Christmas, New Year. Bye.